Hello and welcome to this review of my Cherry G80-3000 LPMGB. I recently posted a review of another Cherry G80-3000, but that one was a little bit different. One of the differences is that this one's more modern. It's from 2003, whereas the other one was from 1998. And as a result, this one comes with a PS2 connector, while the other one came with a 5-pin DIN connector. I'll make several comparisons between these two keyboards during the course of this review, so I'll put the link to the other review in the video description below. Anyway, let's get started at the back. Here you can see the model sticker of the keyboard, made in the Czech Republic. The other one was made in Germany, but it uses the same case and same rough design, thin plastic, and it's all clamped together using these plastic clips here that you can easily open with your fingers. It's convenient that you don't need a screwdriver to open it, but really this is one of the most flimsy keyboards I've ever seen. I think if you dropped it from a reasonable height, it might just shear cleanly in two. There's one thing that I like though, and that's these non-slip rubber padded flip out feet. That's a cool one. Many keyboards shift around quite a bit if you push them, but this one doesn't do that because of that. It's a simple thing, but it's still nice. I like it. Now let's get back to the front to examine the keycaps. The keycaps are quite different with the other keyboard. This one uses PBT keycaps, and it's definitely PBT this time because it says so on the inside. So these keycaps don't yellow with age, and that's a good thing. The thickness is kind of moderate. It's not as thick as the ones on the other keyboard, but it's still thicker than those on many other keyboards. The legends are lasered. They look a bit grayish, as you might be able to see, and they're not that high contrast. If I zoom out a little bit, you can see that it doesn't read all that well. I compare that to a keycap from the other keyboard, and you can immediately see the differences. This keycap is much higher quality than these because you can see the writing is much clearer. It's very high contrast, nice and thick, very, very nice looking. And this just looks a bit flimsy by comparison. This keycap is made out of ABS, so it's slightly yellowed. Not a lot, it's still very white, but it's enough to see that these keycaps, the PBT ones, haven't yellowed at all. They're still pristine white. So that's one advantage of these, but these keycaps are so nice and thick, and they actually feel better when you type on them. So these PBT lasered ones are a bit of a cost-cutting measure. Speaking of pristine white, if I zoom out again a little bit, you might see something that's a little bit distinctive. All of the keycaps are white. Normally these keycaps and them and those four and all these, they're grey to give a little bit of a color division to the board, but that's not the case here. All of the keycaps are white, and while I don't really depend too much on coordination for that, I did always like the two-toned color of keyboards with white and grey, and it's a little bit disappointing that they don't have that here in my opinion. It uses Cherry MX Black switches, which is a linear type of switch. And I think linear switches are a little bit of a specialty of Cherry switches because these do feel very, very linear. There's no very loose feeling at the start and not a particularly stiff feeling at the end. It feels very linear throughout and has a great advantage inherent in Cherry switches, where you can press a switch completely at the edge and it will still go down perfectly. It won't feel any stiffer. And I think that's very important for linear switches, more so than with tactile or clicky switches. Nonetheless, they still feel a little bit unsmooth, a little bit rough. There is definitely some friction going on, and you can even hear it. I'm going to try and demonstrate that. I hope the camera can pick that up. I'll try not to bottom out on the keys, but you might hear a slight dry, raspy noise if I press these. See if the camera picks that up. Can you hear that? That's not a bottoming out noise, that's actual rasping. So there is still some roughness in these switches. In addition, I think they're too heavy, and that's a bit weird because the actuation force is 60 grams for these switches, and I'm used to 70-gram switches like buckling springs and most Alps switches, and still these feel too heavy. And I think that's because it's linear. It feels more unnatural in these. And not just that, they have a very high spring return force. I'll see if I can demonstrate that again. If you press it and then release it, it pops back up very aggressively. So much so that it feels a little bit like a chore to press these. And in fact, even for small tasks of typing, you know, just typing a small email, these switches just feel annoying. So during gaming, they're all right. You don't really notice it too much, but even the smallest non-gaming tasks are annoying with this. And still, because of the stiffness, sometimes while gaming it hurts a lot, especially with your pinky. I played a game earlier where I was using these keys and I had to keep the shift key down constantly and use the spacebar to tap, and then these, and within minutes my pinky was already hurting. And I think it's because it has such a high return spring force. So it's not too great. All in all, I'd say this board with these switches is a little bit of a mixed bag. I don't really see what it's particularly good at, especially. I think red switches would probably be more comfortable to do anything on. And the linear feels really annoying for typing, at least in my opinion. The board is very low quality as well. The keycaps are nice. I do like them. But frankly, this board is not really a standout in any way for me. Some people do like their linear switches, but personally, I would not recommend it. Anyway, that's my review of this keyboard, and following is a typing demonstration of me typing on it.